now, Liz, you're still, I think, out there, aren't you, Liz Erickson, with solid waste and recycling?
I am still here. I will go very fast.
You so much for being patient with us. You know, we're it's difficult to keep on track when we're getting all kinds of really great information.
I completely understand. I have to say, I just want to thank you for inviting me to be here. And I learned so much just by sitting in and listening to these meetings. So I appreciate being able to be here. So I just posted a link in the chat to our main page that that I will refer to. And I've got some, oh, can you enable me, Serena, to share my screen? I have a few photos. Is that possible?
Let me go. Okay, I gotta find you.
And picking up on something Ryan mentioned with potential icy, stormy weather coming in the winter, I'll encourage all of you to make sure you're signed up for service alerts through Recycle Right. It's a way to get communications if service is going to be delayed or canceled because of weather. You also want to make sure that Waste Connections has an updated and correct phone number for you in case they need to send out messages. So it's something you can do to make sure that you are getting the information that you need. So I'm going to go really quickly over curbside, organics, recycling, and I am always available. I love talking about this stuff. So can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Thumbs up.
Well, you know, solid waste and recycling in the city of Vancouver is definitely important for all of us since we all have to take all of our items to the curb, you know.
It is a universal situation. And it is one of the things we can do to help these days by recycling correctly and recycling right. The goal isn't to fill up the cart. The goal is to put the right things in the cart. So I'm going to start with a few slides about the organic service, which started just over a year ago. It replaced the yard debris service, and we're very lucky now we're able to put, you have different cart sizes. So if you wanted a smaller cart for your yard debris and food scraps, you can contact Waste Connections and get a smaller cart since it's now picked up every other week. Same as before, same yard debris is accepted, flowers, yard trimmings, things like that. Sorry that I'm talking fast, but I do want to get just this in front of you. Please know, we call it contamination, things that shouldn't be there. So treated wood, plastic bags, rocks, no thank you. And now with the organic service, you can include any food scrap, any food scrap. A little bit of paper, like you see in the picture, coffee grounds, that filter, tea bags, that's fine. But all of this stuff is being taken to a facility north of the Dalles, Oregon in Washington, and it's turned into nutrient-rich organic compost. And they can't do that if we're putting in stuff that doesn't make good dirt. So you're gonna put in the fruits and vegetables, leftover food, rotten food, raw meat, bones, anything, really any food. Can go into that cart.
Are you saying meat as well?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, so stuff that you wouldn't put in a backyard compost can go into the city program. That's what makes it pretty great. And it keeps your garbage cleaner. A lot of people find that their garbage, it just isn't as wet and stinky because you don't have food going in there. And you may have less garbage because you're able to divert some of that into your organic service. And because the company Dirt Hugger that's buying our product that we're taking it out to is making this great product that then they sell locally to farms, businesses, and you can buy it at Sundance Rockery these days. They don't want any of these items that shouldn't be in there. So produce stickers if you can, any kind of paper, plastic, twist ties, stuff that just isn't food and yard debris. Just want to keep it out of the cart if you can. So that's really quick for the organics cart. Now we're going to turn to the blue slides, which is your blue roll cart, or maybe if you're in a multifamily condominium shared enclosure, hopefully you've got mixed recycling there, well signed. So for plastic, we try to keep it simple because recycling can be confusing. We want plastic tubs, jugs, jars, or bottles. It's by the size. Please don't look at the numbers. We want all of our material to be empty, clean, and dry, larger than your fist, more or less, otherwise it just falls through the cracks. And just empty, clean, and dry, throw it in your cart. The items here in this picture are, again, contamination. We don't want it. It can't be recycled. It messes up the system. A lot of this, our biggest problems are plastic bags or film that doesn't go in the recycling cart, or takeout containers. If you got, as my friend Gretchen likes to say, if you got your food to go, it needs to go in your garbage. They're single use. There's no market to recycle them. So yes, we're supporting our small business, but we got to throw those containers in the garbage if we can't keep reusing them.
So I have a Liz, I do have a question on that topic.
Mhm.
Are we doing anything to eliminate these containers that we can't recycle to make them compostable, or some other, I mean, do we have any regulations to stop all these containers that we all get that, you know?
Yeah, there are some efforts through a nonprofit called Zero Waste Washington, and they support legislation to try to reduce environmental impact of a lot of things, including products. So it's hard, but the more consumers choose not to buy or use a particular container, that makes a difference. And you can tell stores, say, hey, I want the tomatoes, but I don't want this container that I can't recycle. So you're not alone. There's a lot of people that want that to change.
Right. Yes. Okay.
It's a good question. It's hard to be sold something that we then can't recycle.
Right.
And
Well,
you
I would like to think that I could take everything back. If I buy it at Costco, I'd like to take all the containers back and have them sterilize them and reuse them personally.
Dear Costco, yeah, that's what
Dear
you can
Costco,
do.
can you take
For
them
sure.
back?
Yes. And you mentioned compostables. That could be a whole nother presentation in and of itself. Any product labeled compostable is garbage. It does not compost. Please do not put it in the organics cart. It is not recyclable. It's made of like plants and oils, and it's expensive garbage. Happy to talk more about that offline.
Okay.
It makes us feel good, but it's just marketing.
Okay.
Paper in the recycling. Please recycle all those boxes. We're getting lots of Amazon things brought to our house. We need those boxes recycled. Again, empty, clean, and dry, larger than a postcard so it can get through the system, and no food on them. So if you got greasy kind of came through on a box or something, it's garbage. It's just not a good material that the paper recycler will be able to use. You see a little asterisk there. So one of the confusing things is boxes that have been in the fridge or the refrigerator. They're often made with like lots of different types of material, like a milk carton, half and half soup. Those are okay to be recycled. There's particular manufacturers and recyclers that want that material in particular. So if it held soup or broth, sometimes they're called Tetra Paks, that's okay. However, the kind of paper we don't want that came in your refrigerator are like frozen food packages, frozen pizza, butter containers. There's just not enough paper in there. And they're also made with chemicals to keep them holding their shape and keeping the food safe, that make them not recyclable at all. And that's the same type of material that's used in to-go cups. So like you see the soda cups, the coffee cups, it's all garbage. So again, the best we can do until there's better solutions is to try to refuse and avoid those products when we can.
What's wrong with the cardboard that says bubble up?
Oh, it's the same here. So I know across the river in Portland, that can be recycled, different markets. It makes it confusing. Recycling is super hyper local, and the particular paper mills, the paper recyclers that we're sending our product to, our recycled paper, don't want those kinds of like beverage holders. So like a 6-pack holder or like a box that holds a 12-pack of Pepsi or something. They're made with, again, this chemical called wet strength, and it just makes the paper not recyclable. And moving on to metal, again, empty, clean, and dry. If you've got one bumper sticker from this short presentation, empty, clean, and dry. And again, larger than your fist. And if you can, when you're opening up a can, leave that lid partially hinged so that it can tuck in, and then that lid doesn't become a hazard and it can get recycled. It's okay to leave the paper label on the can. The metal that we do not want is dirty or really small because it just gets lost. Or at worst, it's a sharp lid from a can, and that's a hazard because there are peoples along with machinery sorting our recycling. And anything that tangles, oh my gosh, holiday lights, cords, hangers. No, you could take them to the transfer station for scrap metal, but please not in the recycling cart. They don't work well with our machinery. And moving on to glass, always on the side, empty, clean, and dry, and food grade. So if it originally had a food or beverage in it, that's the type of glass we want. It's all made kind of the same like chemistry of glass. Of course, we don't want lids and caps and corks. That's not glass. The kind of glass that does not work well is like candle holders, plates, dishes, vases. They're just made with a different type of glass that melts at a different temperature than the kind that we collect. The kind we collect will be made into more bottles. It's right across the river in Portland. It's great. The citrus is there because that is what our glass recycler tell us is the #1 contaminant. Is people have that little wedge of lime for their beer bottle, pop it down into that bottle, and it doesn't recycle as glass. So if you want the lime juice, that's great, but then throw the citrus wedge away or in your compost bin. And then finally, if you live in a single family home, you are able to recycle motor oil or antifreeze on the curb, on the side, in jugs like you see in the picture, or if you're on the phone, they're in clear 1-gallon milk jugs. And don't mix the two. They're two different materials. Keep them separate. But if that's something that you end up with at your home, you can recycle it on your curb. And finally, you can recycle batteries. Again, single family homes, if you live in multifamily, check with your property manager. You can also take them to a transfer station. But single family home, you can keep your batteries in a Ziploc baggie, tape the ends so that they can't have a charge if there's any juice left in them by rubbing together, and set them on top of your cart. On the dark days, the drivers appreciate maybe a white piece of paper or something underneath it so it actually can be visible to them when they're coming by in the dark morning. But we've got to keep the batteries out of the garbage. We've had almost 3 garbage trucks, I think, this year catch on fire because of the compacted garbage that had batteries in it. Batteries spark and cause really dangerous fires. It's crazy. So it's great that we can recycle them, but got to prepare it correctly. And that's what I got. A few different connections here to answer more questions. My email is there, elizabeth.erickson, City of Vancouver. I love this stuff, so ask any of your questions. I've also posted in the chat a link to the page that has not only information on how to sign up for service alerts to be informed of delays, but also a link to an online collection calendar for yourself, and also the A to Z recycling directory. When in doubt, find out. That's what I got to say. And I don't know if there's time for questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll look forward to getting phone calls or emails from people with their questions in the future.
I think that covered a lot.
Thanks.
No, I hope we're all doing a really good
Hope
job.
it wasn't like a fire hose of information, but.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us, my husband corrects me occasionally on, but I let him do the sorting. I just put it in a bin. So, but thank you. Yes, thank you. Really appreciate your information, and it's good that we can use these items again. And I think we all feel good about being good stewards of the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good evening.